Hi, I'm Ben.
And I'm Ben.
And I'm Ben.
And together we're Ben.
I thought you were saying together, we're high five.
Oh my god, I haven't thought about that in 35 years.
You're not even...
You're 23.
Do you remember High Five?
Yes,
Can you
that's
name
why...
Really?
Can you name all of them? I only remember Charlie.
Yeah, that's what I was
And
going to
names.
say.
Yeah, no,
I'm thinking of the Wiggles at the moment, not high five.
No, Wiggles are easy. That's no, High Five is the... Do you remember the Hooly Doolies?
Oh, no. Keep moving on. We're not talking about
Okay.
the Holy
No, we're
Doolies.
talking about obscure Australian kids' entertainment groups.
No.
Anyway, enough of this.
We are an animation podcast. Where three guys look at an animated film or television series or something and discuss it from an animator's perspective.
Thank you for saying that, Stefan. I was laughing still.
I wasn't listening. What do we do again?
And
Something animation.
this week we're gonna be talking about the what year film?
2006 Tekkonkinkreet, which is a Japanese anime film. So yeah, we're doing that.
Whoa! But before we do that, we are going to be talking about tunes we've tuned into. And if you want to skip to any section of this podcast, look at the description below and check out the time codes. So, let's start off with the person who always watches animated stuff, Michael.
I said I was going to talk about something before. What were we going to talk about?
High five.
Oh, yeah. I remember literally nothing about High Five. Can we name one of their songs?
Oh,
Five in the air, let's do it together.
High five. There was that one where the sunflower grew as well.
Which one was that?
Grow, little sunflower, grow. That's the one.
Everyone remembers every Wiggles song. I remember only that one High Five song.
Was that
And
their
every
theme
song was sung in just like a warehouse filled with children.
Anyway, is that what you've been watching?
No, I'm trying to think of literally anything the Hooly Doolies did.
Did you watch the
All I
Holy
remember is
Doolies?
that one was French, and he used to sing about being French, I'm pretty sure. And he just had a t-shirt with the Eiffel Tower on it. You remember him?
No!
I don't remember any other guys, I just remember that guy. They used to live in a plane or something.
So, Stefan, after you finished laughing
I had their album. They used to be in a red plane, and they used to have like a dingo or something.
Not only are you not saying anything animation-wise, but you're saying about something you don't even remember.
Michael, shh.
I want to
Stefan-
remember what the Hooly Doolies songs
Stefan,
are.
Look up what the Holy...
while he's looking up Holy Doolies, what have you been watching?
I watched James and the Giant Peach.
Oh, that's actually a film I wanted Michael to cover for his People Eat Some Weird Things and Then Turn Into Other Things trilogy.
Yeah, it's still charming in terms of its stop motion. I still really appreciate the Jack Skellington cameo.
Yes, that is very
It's always
good.
fun. I think the best parts of it are definitely everything to do with the animation. I don't think the story hits as well.
No, I think the book is a lot better than the film, sadly.
Okay.
Which kind of sucks, because this was a Henry Selick film as well. This
Yeah,
is
it was.
off the back of The Nightmare Before Christmas.
It's really odd though because it doesn't feel as refined as The Nightmare
No,
Before
it doesn't.
Christmas.
Which maybe they just wanted to rush out another stop motion film because of the success of it.
Don't get me wrong, the puppets themselves still look
yeah.
quite nice, but they don't look as refined or as nice as the Nightmare Before Christmas cast.
Yeah.
There's also a lot less animated characters in this. There's only like the 5 insects.
Plus some sharks.
Oh yeah, that was the thing I loved about this film. Either the art director didn't know what sharks look like or rhinos, but they just thought, you know what, let's make them giant mechanical fire-breathing things made out of, like, death and destruction. It's like, no, that's not what a shark looks like.
The Hooly Doolies disbanded in 2009.
Can you show me a picture of them? I don't know who they are.
Their Wikipedia picture is them posing with the New South Wales Fire and Rescue Team. Who could forget such characters such as Top Hat, Blue, Cowardly
Michael,
Frenchman,
stop
and Kangaroo in
talking
Pants.
about this random Australian thing that no one remembers.
I also saw, because I thought I might as well finish the saga because I'd seen all the others, I saw Ice Age Collision Course.
Why?
Oh my god, what is it like? I've always wanted to watch it because it looks bad.
Okay,
One
so...
where it's in space or something?
Yeah, it's got basically...
It's got aliens or something.
No aliens. Scrat's in space, and basically Scrat's the reason why the universe is how it is, why all the planets are aligned.
So-
he basically accidentally found a spaceship and ricocheted like a pinball all over the universe, and he made an asteroid go to Earth that was going to destroy all the Ice Age.
Is that the
I kind of
collision
like
course?
the joke that Scrat is inadvertently responsible for all major, like, geographical
Yes.
events on that Earth's history.
But this is definitely the best looking Ice Age film. But the plot is just so like it's just like such a nothing plot that doesn't
Is
really.
this Ice Age
Yeah.
5?
Yes.
Ice Age 5. But there's some really great one-shot scenes where Simon Pegg's character, returns. So it's Simon Pegg.
Oh.
And he does this whole song while he's beating up these raptors and he's like carving this massive rock. And once he finishes, it turns out the rock carve was like a giant statue of himself.
See, a lot of people assumed he died because in the fourth one, you see his knife come out of the crashing glaciers.
Yeah, no.
So,
he hasn't.
yeah.
He has his knife in this too, so I don't
What?
understand.
Whatever.
It's that's the thing.
We're going to argue the continuity of the Ice Age movies.
Yes.
It has some gorgeous looking animation, like definitely the best of the series. It's really cartoony at this stage and really fun, but some of because there's just so much for them to handle, and there's a lot of story things that just there's a good emotional beats, but they just don't hit for some reason. It's really odd because it definitely feels like they're really just tiring the franchise out, and I think this movie really nails that point in.
Well,
but like the
just
Putt
wait.
of Buck and the
Crash and Eddie?
yeah, Crash and Eddie, fun. Like everyone's doing their great performance, and it's fun, but it doesn't feel as good as the first two for some reason. It
Okay.
feels like you could make a trilogy of Ice Age of the last three because they have the same sort of storytelling. Like the last three of the Ice Age is like telling Peach's life. Like Peach's childhood was in Dawn of Dinosaurs. Peach's adolescence was in
Continental Drift.
Continental Drift, and adulthood and marriage is in this one. But what have you been tuning into, Ben?
So, the final episodes of... Which one am I going to go with?
BoJack
BoJack
Horseman.
Horseman.
No, I'm going to talk about Star Wars Resistance.
Screw
first.
you, Ben.
The final episodes of Star Wars Resistance has dropped, and I watched it. So
Good?
the first half of the season was really not good, but the second half of the season climbed up to a really, really great finale.
Adequate. Oh.
That was a really good finale, and
A
it
good
wrapped
series finale, though?
I would say so. The only sucky thing is they never joined the Resistance.
Why did you
Wait a
call the
minute.
series Star Wars Resistance?
Because they called the other one the Clone Wars, where the main conflict was the Clone Wars. Then they called the other one Rebels, where the main conflict was the Rebellion.
Yeah,
and they
so
called this one Resistance, because the main conflict is the
They
Resistance.
should have
versus
called
the
this
First
Star
Order.
Wars Colossus, or Star Wars We're stuck on a giant ship in the middle of the water and can't get out because the First Order keeps shooting at us with giant laser beams.
I wonder what the acronym for that is.
Oh,
But, yeah, I agree. Apart from that, though, it's really good. They got Tam back onto the Colossus.
cool.
There was actually some really great rendering in the second half
How
of the
did
season
that
as well.
relationship pan out? Was it just like, oi, Tam, and Tam's like, but I'm with the First Order because you guys are evil, and they're like, nah, we weren't.
No, because the reason why she joined the First Order in the first place, because she wanted to actually be a pilot and get those dreams to come true. But then she just sees these bad things chip away at her from the First Order. And then eventually she decides she wants to get out and go back. The other series finale that I watched was The Enter BoJack Horseman. And it is it's both very satisfying and not, but in a good way, in like that sort of realistic downer ending type way.
Can I ask a question about it?
Yes.
Is the hypothesis that it ends with the line, "Why the long face," true?
No. It doesn't end with that line.
That feels like a big mishap. It should have ended with that.
I remember
line.
reading a fan theory from a couple of years back saying that the finale, that all of BoJack Horseman is just the world's longest and most elaborate "a horse walks into a bar" joke. And they hypothesized that the last scene would be BoJack walking into a bar and the bartender going, "Why the long face?" and then it would cut to black. I think that's brilliant.
No, that also.
And I think that if that theory wasn't on the internet, that's how it would have ended.
Well, this second half of the last season has some really great episodes as well. There's one that focuses on Diane's depression and like what that looks like inside of her head.
This episode's about depression.
Is
Is
it
great.
like an Inside Out, but more sad?
So usually when they go inside of people's heads, they do like a different style of animation.
Oh, is that like a thing?
Yeah.
Because I've only seen the first two seasons.
And with people who have depression and anxiety, it's a very scrawled, freehand type of 2D animation, and it's really well done in this.
And it's
Oh,
not like
cool.
flash animated, it's hand-drawn.
Yeah, it looks like digitally, but hand drawn, yes. And also the second last episode called The View from Halfway Down is really harrowing, but really, really well done. and it just incorporates a lot of the themes of the whole show and how BoJack feels about things, and
See, I feel like
it's really good.
in terms of I only know from what you've told me, but I think how they ended it that's the best way you could have ended it. Have it that
Yes.
climactic second last episode, and then the last one just being that kind of "and so we live on" kind of thing.
Yes.
Like, it doesn't need to tightly fix everything, because BoJack's whole thing hasn't been fixing anything. He's been fixing and then breaking himself, fixing and breaking himself, just getting to a moment where he can kind of say, okay, now we need to move onwards. That's enough to end the series on.
Yeah, which is exactly what happened, and it's really well done.
You kind of need the last episode as like an extended denouement, or just like an extended
Yeah.
epilogue.
Because from what Ben showed me of the second last episode, that was pretty disturbing, and I haven't seen a single thing of BoJack, but I was like, what the hell? That's horrible.
Don't spoil it, because I'll watch it eventually.
It's basically Spirited Away if you've seen that movie.
Also, there's songs in it.
Oh, the songs.
You don't
That
stop until the curtains fall. It's a very
was a good singing voice, Ben.
Thank you. But yeah, it's really good. I would definitely recommend watching all of BoJack Horseman.
I don't want to, it's too long.
I'll just show you the singing parts then.
I just want to look at the depressing parts and all the parts with Mr. Peanut Butter and his ringtone theme song.
Who's that dog?
Mr. Peanut Butter.
Anyway, so let's talk about the anime movie
Yep.
from 2000 and something.
2006.
We forgot the title of.
No, let me just get my
It's
notes out.
Stefan.
It's Tekkonkinkreet.
So,
I remember reading about it, and it means steel reinforced concrete.
exactly that. Tekkonkinkreet means steel reinforced concrete. It's basically like it's a child's misinterpretation of it's not actually pronounced like that. It's how a child would pronounce it, like kind of wrong.
So
how's it
let's
actually pronounced?
let's talk about Cats the musical.
Not cats.
But they're cats.
Grace.
They're not cats.
They're called cats.
Called the cats, but they're not cats. We're not talking about Cats the musical, or not Cats the live action crap.
Fine, we'll talk about the
dealing
Michael
with it.
Jackson song Black or White then.
He turns into a panther at the end of that, actually.
He turns into everybody in that song.
Oh, yeah, that's a
There's just a
point.
montage of him morphing into people.
It's kind of creepy.
Yeah.
So, Tekkonkinkreet is a 2006 anime drama film based on the 3-volume manga series of the same name created by Tao Matsumoto in 1993.
Stefan, when you were talking about your last film that you did, that was a Western film, you pronounce all the names really good. I expect you to do the same with this.
No, this is Japanese, so I can't. I can't pronounce
In
it.
that case, Stefan apologizes in
I'm
advance.
sorry. The production company was Studio 4 Degrees Celsius, but it's not actually 4 degrees Celsius. It's 4 and then the degrees sign with the C.
So it's 4 degrees Celsius.
Yes, but not like 4 degrees Celsius has words.
But it's 4 degrees Celsius.
It's a really hard thing to put on a label. I don't know why they chose it. And was directed by American filmmaker Michael Arias.
I thought you were going to say Michael Myers for a second there. I was a
Michael
bit
Myers.
scared.
It's directed by... no.
This film needs to be cut better.
Is this all you're going to say to any of our shots, Mr. Michael Myers? Yes.
Yes. More cutting.
This directorial debut would make Arias the first non-Japanese filmmaker to direct a major anime film. The film has been praised in the anime community as a cult classic for its stunning visuals, unique atmosphere. It has often been interpreted as dealing with change, as every single anime does,
Every single anime is a coming-of-age story about children.
loss of childhood, and mental strain of past traumas. So
It certainly does cover that. I'm not going to lie. That's
does.
exactly what I got away from this film. So they did a good job.
bit about the plot. Set in a fictional place called Treasure Town, young boys Shuro and Kuro, known as Black and White in the English dub.
Did they ever say then those names in this film?
Yeah, they call themselves Black or White, but
No, their actual names. Did they ever call themselves their actual names in the film?
no, these are their names, Black and White.
But
or
you just
Shuro
said
and
that.
Kuro.
Yeah, Shuro and Kuro.
Oh,
Did they ever
Shuro
say-
and Kuro means Black and White
Ah,
in Japanese.
sorry.
Are all
Sorry, my
animes
bad.
coming-of-age stories in the same way that, like, basically all American movies are westerns?
Yeah.
If you get down to it.
Yeah, I would say that.
Yeah.
Well, they're also... Most Japanese things are slow and reflective, if you notice. Like, they have this reflective heart, unless it's like Red Line, where it's just, let's see capillaries burst. So young boys Shuro and Kuro, so Black and White, live orphaned on the streets, and they're known as the Stray Cats. They fight to keep the Yakuza, so Japanese
Isn't it
mafia.
Okay.
Yakuza, whatever you pronounce it as, from invading and changing their town, while also fighting against their own personal demons. Meanwhile, the film explores Kimura's exploits in the mafia and the shifting power struggles to reclaim Treasure Town. And that's the plot.
I really liked Kimura. Good on him.
That was alright.
I loved his
Except when he was a
character arc.
jerk.
I'm not sure what was going on, but animation though.
Do you know who Kimura is? He's the guy... Oh,
We'll get into it,
Yeah.
but he's the ex-mafia guy. He was like one of the mafia people.
and then he had a baby and was like, I'm not going to do this anymore.
Oh, and
Then
I
he
was like,
get drawn back into it, like, oh, I have to do one last job.
oh, it's always one last job with you people.
It's always one last. So, just a tiny bit about the studio who produced it. So, founded in 1986, Studio 4 Degrees Celsius has basically made just many OVAs and films, as well as animation work for commercials and music videos. Some of their most notable works being the more experimental animated film called Mind Games. I haven't seen it yet, but Mind Games is like the Japanese version of... nuts. What was the film with... that we saw, the 2001
The
experimental...
game starring Michael Keaton.
Not the game.
Waking
Douglas,
Life.
sorry.
Waking Life.
Oh,
It's like the Japanese version of making Waking Life, this mind game. And they did the majority of the anime series, The Animatrix, which, as you can guess, is the anime adaptation and reimagining of The Matrix.
Oh, I thought it was about a dominatrix. My bad.
oh wait, is it the same people that did the Animatrix?
That's what he just said.
Yes, it is, Michael.
Oh, that makes so much sense because especially the movement at the start reminds me of that Animatrix short when the guy's running and he
Yeah.
runs so fast that he breaks out of the Matrix. And by run so fast, it means he runs at like 40 kilometers an hour. Cars go faster than that. How come his endurance makes him leave the Matrix?
So, The Animatrix was produced by Michael Arias 3 years prior to his directing of Tekkonkinkreet. So that's how he was able to get into doing this as his directorial debut.
Ah.
So that's all. That's literally all I've got on the notes. In terms of animation style, it's a traditional 2D paper Japanese animation, but it relies a lot
Really?
on 3D
I was gonna say
voice,
that-
backgrounds and panning.
There seems to be a lot of 3D, especially with vehicles.
And especially, there's a lot of camera shaking.
Yeah.
There's a lot of parts where it's like first-person perspective, which is some really dynamic shots, but also very hard to put together well with the 2D animation.
And we'll get into that after our opening thoughts.
So, opening thoughts. Michael, start us off. What did you even think this was?
I had no idea what was going on. It was kids kind of trying to take down the accuser.
Yep.
I liked every scene when they were in the street. I think
The
my
whole
favorite.
city is set in the street.
I think my favorite scene was the opening, just when they're jumping on cars. I thought that was
that was a
It
great...
opens up with the most, like, some of the most impressive Eastern animation I'd ever seen. And then it kind of keeps up that quality for the rest of it. But in terms of just like dynamic imagery and movements and
It really sets the tone for the rest of the film.
I'll tell you what, it really got across in its animation. That's really difficult to do. Wait.
Yep.
Everyone, I mean this in the best way possible. It's not snappy animation.
No.
There's no kind of quick movements. Everyone moves with this like
Deliberateness?
cumbersome, lethargic, deliberate movements. And I think that gives you a lot of kind of like weight behind impacts, or when they're jumping on cars, you kind of feel how kind of heavy and weighted all those kind of all that kinetic force is.
Also, how, in terms of weight, they also convey weightlessness well. Like, how they do the floating animation, it feels like surreal, and yet in the world it's completely taken as this is the norm.
It reminded me of that Modest Heroes, whenever that guy floats away.
Yeah.
That invisible guy floats away.
So, this film clearly has a lot of supernatural / superhero elements, which the outside world never really talks about.
Yeah.
Which I find really interesting.
Is it one of those things when it's kind of...
Just some people just have powers, and people just take that for
That's
granted.
some interpretation, but other
I always
interpretations...
took the interpretation that the whole thing, as you were saying, it's through the eyes of kids.
It's just the kids. The kids think they have these powers, but in reality they don't.
Yeah.
Okay,
because
but let me
even
say-
the title itself is like skewed through like the eyes of children. It's a misinterpretation.
Okay,
of
let me
something.
say that first of all, they jump along a lot of cars and all that sort of
Yeah.
stuff onto the road, and they survive perfectly.
I don't-
One guy gets stabbed and survives, and they also happen to read the events of the city in real time as well. So I don't think...
No,
Some of it might
I think
be
the
through...
opening with them jumping on cars. Like, the whole time I was expecting just, like, a hard cut to, like, a wide shot, and it's just them running down the footpath or something.
I think that would be the more believable interpretation, because the opening scene of this movie is basically like them. It's like their playground. It's like them being free as kids and having these adventures of just kind of playing around with their sticks and being superheroes and whatnot.
There's a good episode of South Park, exactly like that, when they find, like, a bunch of, like, ninja weapons, and whenever they pick up the weapons, the animation style changes into anime. And they
I've seen that
And they
part,
imagine
actually.
themselves as anime characters. And then one of them throws, like, a shuriken, and just takes out one of the kid's eyes.
Okay, in that case, we have to also question, did Black actually take out some Yakuza members?
Yes, I think he did.
Did I pronounce the
Did-
Star correctly?
Were the Mafia actually... were the Yakuza actually... Did they actually want to drive away those two kids from the city?
Yes.
Okay, why?
I don't know. I don't know. There's a lot of interpretation
Exactly,
for the
which
film,
is why-
but the aliens are real. Like, those guys are meant to be representative of, like, harsh Yakuza. That's why when they... It's really interesting because
So
before
there's
this,
a lot
all
of-
the fight scenes are quite fun, but when it comes to those aliens and the aliens just punch Kuro, Black, it just feels... He just punched a kid and the kid's, like, bleeding on the ground.
The whole thing seemed, like, there were those little flashes of reality.
Yeah.
Like, if a kid got hit by an adult...
It would hurt.
Yeah, that's how it would feel, yeah.
But it still could be
The whole
just
film
a lot
seemed
of
unreliable
supernatural.
to me in terms of its omnipotent narrator.
I just think because Black is like such a skilled fighter and stuff,
Yeah.
a lot of that stuff earlier on through the kid's perspective might be a lot relied on the truth.
Yeah, it's hard to distinguish
Yes.
what's real and what's not.
But then again, it could very well be through the lens. That's really interesting. I see, when I was just watching, I was just like, I'm guessing there's just lots of these power
Like,
things that they just don't
in
reference.
the bathhouse where Shuro's riding an elephant. That elephant's not there. That's just in his mind. He thinks he's on this elephant. There's a lot
to
that
be
bends that.
interpreted.
There's
Yes.
also some interpretation saying that White and Black are the same character, and it's just him dealing with this mental disorder, this one character.
Okay.
But because Black and White, yin and yang, you've got that
Yes.
whole, they balance each other out.
Like, Black literally wears a yin and yang jumper at one point.
That is so blunt, but I love it. He
Yes.
looks so cool like that. Can I go? I'll go for my opening thoughts.
Yes.
I thought this was one of the most badass films I've ever seen for a while now. Like, this was just so kick-ass. Like, the visuals were stunning. Some of the first-person shifts with them jumping through these 3D CG planes, and then how dynamic everything was. There was such movement, there was such energy. And even in its slower moments, it would have these pans or these shots that made the two characters seem so lonely. Like, it would be like them on this awesome looking skyscraper thing, and it'd just be the two characters just sitting there looking at their city. And it makes them feel so powerful and yet so isolated. And this film really has that interesting atmosphere where it balances between its high energy action and then its more reflective, like, sense of losing childhood and all those themes that it tries to convey. And I think it does it in such a unique and just, like, for me, this film did not feel this long. Like, I know for you guys it may have, but I just breezed through this and thought, wow, that's a world I would love to stay in more.
To me, it felt both long and short at the same time for some reason. I think it was purely because I watched it close to around the time I went to bed, and I was just counting the minutes until it was over.
I think I felt it was long because literally, like, 2 days before I watched it, you rang me up and said, watch it now because it's very long. Don't wait till the last second again.
Which is what... Did you do that?
Yeah.
I think the style of this film is really great because this is unlike anything we've watched on this podcast in terms of anime.
Yeah, it's actually odd because a lot of people say this film is one of the few anime films that the characters actually look Japanese, and yet
I can still see.
To an extent.
this is done by an American director. Like, he was the
Oh,
one
is
who...
it?
Yeah, I said at the start, Michael Arias.
Oh.
He's American.
I thought that was just like a strange ethnic Japanese name.
No. But,
Arias.
I could
The thing
still
about
see
this-
a lot of that Asian influences in the character designs.
oh, definitely.
But it's a Japanese production.
yeah.
Yeah.
The thing about this, the character designs, it's odd because if you take them as a still, the characters look kind of gross. Like,
Oh,
they've got
definitely.
these weird smiles, and it just looks kind
Their
of
waists are
weird and
really
off-putting.
low compared to their body as well.
Yeah.
They all have stumpy little legs.
But then when you see it in motion, it
just-
it carries so much. It feels like to me, and you guys will definitely probably disagree with me, but it feels like a feature-length Gorillaz music video, and I loved it because of it. Like, Gorillaz have...
That's what I was thinking of the whole time.
Gorillaz have that very, like...
The gangly.
Yeah, gangly, and it's very, like, somber, but it's also very energetic and very well animated. This felt like a full-length Gorillaz
And
anime.
you said we disagree with you.
And the-
Shame on you, Stefan.
Go broke!
The Gorillaz, and the Gorillaz also kind of reminds me of like urban fantasy.
Yeah.
If you've watched like something like The Warriors.
Or even Windmill in the the windmill one. What's the windmill one?
What are you talking about?
What's the windmill one?
Frank and Weenie.
Yeah, sure. No!
No, wait, what?
Windmill!
What windmill?
Oh, what are you talking about?
What are you talking
What are
about?
you talking about? You just say you're the one who came in here and started yelling about windmills.
Gorilla song about the windmill.
Oh, I don't know any Gorillaz songs.
Oh, okay.
I was talking about the movie The Warriors from.
Oh, you were talking about the movie The Warriors.
What do you think he was talking
I don't know. I
about?
thought there was a Gorilla song called The Warriors.
No, the movie The Warriors. I'm saying it's a good example of the urban fantasy genre. And it reminded me very much of both gorilla music videos and this. There, podcast over. Go home.
Windmills. Ha 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 ha.
No.
Windmill.
Not still with the windmill.
Okay, so let's talk about all of those really great camera pan
Sweeps.
throughs.
Yes.
Sweeps. I thought they were really, really well done, really well integrated with the 2D atmosphere of the rest of the film.
Yeah, they are. Like,
Yeah, like
half the time
especially
you
for
can't even tell.
2006 as well. Like I could definitely tell they were 3D, but because they were like highly stylized and like just and really well incorporated into the world that we've already been immersed into, I thought just like the panning of it, like for the opening with the city, a lot of it seems like just flat layers compared to the. But as you go through the rest of the film, it's actually like you zoom in through hallways and doorways. And
You
stuff.
realise it's like this fully fleshed out 3D world.
Yeah, and I thought that was like really incredible how they did that.
And they also used it really stunningly in a lot of the chase scenes. Like, especially where the big alien is chasing the little kids and the kids are jumping off the walls trying to escape him as it's running.
See, if there's aliens in this, I wouldn't see any problem with the kids actually being superpowered.
They could be, but, like, the film doesn't give you
It's
enough...
just- I know, it's just, maybe it isn't an alien. Maybe it's just from the kids' perspective, they just look like these towering aliens because they're foreign.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just, that is a really great concept.
It's a very interesting film when you see all the layers to it. Like, even in the backgrounds, like, these are some of the most detailed maps I've ever
definitely.
seen. Like, there's stuff
Yeah,
everywhere.
the cityscape is really detailed and it really carries that really grungy, dirty sense of this treasure town.
Yeah,
just
it,
because
it feels like the ins and outs of a culture have just gotten their trash can and empty it in a place, and that's what this town is made up of.
it feels like what Ready Player One wanted to be.
Kind of, actually. But it has this mystique to it, this town. And
Yeah.
the director has said that, from his perspective and the team he was working with, this town, Treasure Town itself, was meant to be the main character. And the people we follow are just kind of
It's
some of its
Chinatown,
denizens.
boys.
That's Chinatown, Jake.
Oh, yeah, it's Jake. Sorry. Damn it, Ben! You messed up a classic quote.
I did too.
Alive
so-
Ben would have never done this.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
still dead from last week. If you've
Watch-
listened to that,
This is the last week's podcast.
Where Dead Ben is now Dead Ben.
I like how they depict urban sprawl. I like just the mess of wires and like the tangle of telephone poles. And we always say, but like, anime has a really like a excellent knack for like lived in urbanization.
Everything feels cramped.
yes, I really
Yeah.
like how you continued off of what we were saying. That way, we don't have to do weird edits.
That's true. We don't have to put on that little bridge editing thing that Stefan stuffs up the note, but we use that take anyway. Da-da-da-da-da.
Well, I gotta
Now
edit
we have
that
to do a
now.
weird edit because we went on a tangent.
Thanks, Ben. Alive Ben wouldn't have done this.
I'm glad that we don't go on tangents, so we don't have to weirdly edit, and then that's when you hard cut and like back into the conversation.
No, now is when I do it.
Just that depiction of just like decrepit, dilapidated urban sprawl, like you
Yeah.
see it in like Akira,
I think this is one of the best instances that we've seen when doing this podcast.
Yeah, second to only Akira.
Garden of Words did it pretty well too. If you remember his room.
Yeah, sorry, yeah. Like the whole speech of Garden is like the whole end speech to Garden of Words is like in a stairwell. Like that's all kind of like cracked and
It's just modern,
like
urban.
everything looks like it's just had a complete like failure in maintenance.
Yeah, but the poverty in this just really sold it to me.
Yeah, like you said, everyone's cramped. There's
Yeah.
the population density is very high. But I like that. The one thing that got me is just like especially on the poster as well, just like the mess of like just telephone wires and power lines and everything is so just like haphazardly thrown together. And I don't know, I just always appreciate anime's ability to tell stories with backgrounds
Yeah.
and with mats.
And it does that quite a bit. Like, a YouTuber I've seen who did a review of this, a very good one, he said that in the apartment, Kimura's apartment, where he's got his girlfriend, if you look at some of the details of what she has in her apartment, you can piece together that she's a tailor.
Yeah.
That she has a sewing machine, that she has fashion magazines, that she has all these things. And there's no direction drawn towards those, but they're just there if you want to piece together more of this
I
work.
feel like a lot of the animation, like the scenery doesn't really tell story. Don't really.
No, the
doesn't
characters
tell
do.
stories because it's not a bad thing per se, or it's not a fatal error.
But it's very refreshing to see this sort of storytelling in
Yeah,
animation.
yeah. When like your focus isn't on the characters, like while they're talking, you can kind of just like peer into the background and like in that way kind of peer into their lives and their livelihoods.
That's where the problem with anime films being brought to the West also becomes apparent, because a lot of these films don't really have a cohesive plot. Like, the plot of this isn't much. It just is the kids trying to stop the Yakuza from taking over, but it
then
doesn't
more Yakuza
extend
come
from
in.
there. It just
Yeah.
kind of meanders on this sense of losing this town
Whenever
to these
we've
people.
watched stuff, this is a gross overgeneralization.
Yeah.
But whenever I've watched anime that you've recommended, it's more of like a textual experience when you just kind of sit there and you kind of let a tone wash over you. And you kind of enjoy the like fast-paced kinetic energy or kind of like a somber, introspective...
I just guess because it's just the culture shock between the two.
yeah. Whether you watch like Western stuff and like it's very pointedly narrative
Yeah,
driven.
it's focused
And you
on
can
its
follow
narrative.
and you follow a plot. And it might not always be character driven, but there's always like an end point and
There's
the
a
narrative
drive.
conventions are always quite strong and
Yeah,
it always adheres
Rogue
to a
One.
basic skeleton of storytelling.
Whereas these kind of...
They don't really adhere to
have
that. They're kind of
freedom.
more loose.
Okay, and when we cover, because we've got to cover one eventually, when we cover a Studio Ghibli film, that is all around, because Hayao Miyazaki, he doesn't do scripts, he just does storyboards, and he just goes with, people start animating before he's even finished the storyboards. Back to Tekkonkinkreet, the two phases of the movie, which you can kind of see that you either are on board with it, are you not, or you're not.
Can I guess what it is?
Yeah.
Windmill.
No, it's not the windmill. Oh my goodness. No, it's when the
Are you talking about the windmill one, Ben?
Not the windmill.
I am talking about the
Oh,
windmill.
the
one.
windmill one. I love the windmill one.
It was very milly.
I
with
like the
winds.
bit how they use wind to grind grain.
Are you talking about Bug's Life still?
They didn't have a windmill in Bug's Life, Stefan. Get a grip.
They grinded grain
They
at
didn't
least.
grind any grain in Bug's Life.
They
It
just
was
threw
raw
grain at people.
That's what windmills do.
Okay, so the first half of the movie.
As a kid, I thought they were just giant fans.
The first part of the movie.
I'm a big fan of
Oh my
those.
goodness, shut up! The first half of the movie has Shiro and Kuro together. The second half of the movie has them separated. The
Yes.
first part of the movie really establishes itself with that urban sprawl, whereas the second half of the movie has some of the more supernatural elements, and especially the part where Kuro gets absorbed by the Minotaur.
Yes. I thought...
What
Yeah.
did you think of that scene?
Which one exactly? There was a lot.
At the end where the Minotaur
Oh,
hugs
yes.
Kuro and then he wakes in that darkness realm.
I thought that was really well done, and it's like a really... I'm guessing the Minotaur is just like some... I don't think he was actually possessed, for me. To me, it was more like a sign of like depression and anxiety and all that sort of stuff, and him being enveloped by
by
all
darkness.
those.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Minotaur is
And-
meant to
yeah.
be like his destructive side.
I was gonna say,
taking
like,
over.
Exactly. And even like when the Minotaur defeated the Yakuza, I just assumed that was him, but he was imagining it was
Yeah,
another
he just
person.
kills them.
I took it as pretty on the
Yeah.
nose, like embracing your demon.
Exactly, and I thought that was really well done, and like how they animated that, like all that, the mind inside the mind animation. Like we talked about how in the Toons we tuned into, how BoJack Horseman inside their minds, it's different animation. They also do that in this, and I found that really engaging, just because it was like a nice refresher from all this, not in a bad way, but from the meanderingness. And
But it was so cathartic in the
Yeah.
mind. Like, it was just chaos. You could just see all these
Yeah.
these red splotches and all these textures flying at you.
And with whites as well, like his was really nice bright watercolors
Yeah.
as well, and like that contrast from black's inner mind as well, I found really engaging.
It's really easy to make a good visual key with these characters when you got one who Shiro represents like the creativity of a child. So he has all these crayons and all these lovely images in his mind, and Kuro's like this destructive nature of children. And so he has like this minotaur figure and all these reds and
It's almost
blacks.
like they're yin and yang.
No, they're totally yin and yang. Also, he's
No, Stefan, it's almost like. Didn't you hear me?
okay,
Almost.
But no, it really captures the mood of those characters very well. And as I said, it's such a great experience, the whole film. Like, I thought the entire thing was just a great coaster of just feelings and just atmosphere and animation. It was a great animation showcase.
It really was, yeah.
What did you think, though, in terms of... Because it's also very well... It's interestingly written in terms of its characters, because it focuses mainly, in terms of character development, on thugs and Yakuza. I want to talk about three things in particular. The one where, if you remember, Kimura kidnaps one of the just gang leaders of the town, and he shows him the person's ear that he cut off. And then at the end of that sequence, when Kuro goes ballistic on them, it just ends with the guy crying in the office.
Yep.
I thought that was a really powerful scene, because he's this gang leader, but at the end of the day, he's a guy who has a mother who he's just trying to... This is just how he lives. And him seeing this kid brutally beat down all these thugs made him cry, because he didn't want Kuro to do any of that. And it's really amazing, because a lot of the characters, a lot of the thugs in this world don't want Kuro to be who he is, but Kuro's that's who he is, because he is a stray. He's an orphan and he doesn't know any other way of living. And what did you think of Kimura and the Yakuza leader, the rat?
So I thought their story was quite interesting. Like, I really enjoyed that as a secondary plot, just because it humanized them, but not in like an empathetic way. But just yeah, just like how they're like the old people running this town, and how there's a new wave coming in, they're trying to deal with that. And I just really found it interesting, especially with like how they're changing like from sex workers to children's playgrounds.
Yeah.
Just like that's a very stark contrast, and it's just like showing the stark contrast between what's going to be happening to Treasure Town.
And Kimura was stuck in the middle, where he's basically stuck in the middle of these two changes. He's in the middle of the old side and the new coming in.
I really liked his story, like especially when he has to kill the rat, and I found that ending scene between them really
It's
powerful.
a powerful scene.
Yeah.
Because it also shows that the rat has seen enough in his life that he knows that was his final moment. And he even said, "What a night to go, though."
Exactly.
And his last line is something like, "Promise me you'll love your children and your wife." It's something quite sweet from a jerk who's been running the Yakuza for how many years.
Although I knew as soon as he rejoined the Yakuza that he would die, and then he does.
Yeah.
But I still found it sad though. But no, I think that moment was my favourite moment in the scene, despite not being part of the major plot.
It's interesting because the film... The only people who die in this film are basically criminals. And yet, this film just feels like there's so much loss in this world. Like, everyone loses something. And yet, really, Shura and Kura are fine.
I mean...
They're a bit mentally scarred, but they're fine.
Yeah.
But it's not like they go through anything... Like, most of the trauma that happens to Kura and Shura is in their heads. Like, I love that really defeated scene where Kura's dragging around a doll of Shura and saying, "This is Shura, look, he's come back to me. Look at Shura."
I think that mentally scarred me.
That was so sad. But he looked so cool in that scene. He had the long hair, the yin and yang jacket.
Oh, no, he just looked so desperate and sad.
He was
I
so
wouldn't say
desperate.
it's cool.
But there's also interpretations of the film where Shuro did die when he was stabbed.
Oh, okay.
And
See,
the rest is in Kuro's mind.
I think that would have been a really interesting take. Because I actually thought they were going to kill him off and see how Black spirals into depression from there.
I thought they would have too, and that would have been for a very impactful rest of the thing. But I don't think that. I think it's also powerful just leaving it ambiguous, because if you have it that he actually dies, that's kind of quite definite. You're making a definite change. Whereas if you don't kill him off, you kind of just have this meandering where you're still not quite sure if there's a status quo you can rely on in this world.
That's very true. Also, then there would only be one cat instead of cats.
Yeah, they
the
did
musical.
Cats, the musical.
Is it Jellicle? I wonder. Jellicle.
We don't know what Jellicle means.
cats.
Jellicle's just a Jellicle. Jellicle cat.
Do you wanna come to the Jellicle ball?
Jellicle ball for the Jellicle cats and the Jellicle, because the Jellicle cats get to go to the Jellicle afterlife, and being in Jellicle afterlife is very Jellicle, because Jellicle, and I love the Jellicle.
But it's not angelic
Jellicle.
at
It's
all.
not angelic because Jellicle's deaf, and deaf isn't good. Deaf isn't Jellicle, because Jellicle isn't Jellicle, but the Jellicle isn't the Jellicle cats, and the cats can't be Jellicle because only the Jellicle cat gets to go to the afterlife.
Was this about windmills?
Yes. No! Not windmills.
You said Jellicle so much, I
You
thought
said
you were going to
Jellicle
pass
so much, I
out.
thought this is a person who's not only seen Cats, but has seen every single adaptation of it. You've been attending the Broadway show for 40 years, however long it's been running.
Which is impressive, seeing as you're only 23.
Exactly. You've been seeing the
I
Broadway.
stopped time just to see it extra times.
What do you think of the new Yakuza guy? I didn't like his haircut. It was too
Snake.
slick back.
Oh, I didn't like him at all.
That was his name. Yeah, he did look like a snake character.
He
Like
did.
everybody named after animals.
There was black and white. They weren't named after
Oh
animals.
damn! Okay, I only had rat then.
Also, I didn't know the police guys were police guys until White was in that room.
What? It was so obvious. They said at the start they were police members.
Again, because it's a very meandering type film.
Yeah, if
I
you
guess
missed
I just
one fact.
Checked
Yes.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just must have missed it, and then I just assumed they were another sect of the Yakuza. But yeah, it wasn't until that huge White was in the room drawing, coloring. I was like, oh, okay.
No, they're police. But they also have a.
It's
They
like, we got two new recruits off the street said they want to join our gang. Well, bring them in then. And like they come in and they just got like the English bobby hats and they're like twirling batons. It's like, we're new up and coming criminals, see?
would have fooled me.
There's something about you two that I just don't trust, but I'm gonna take a risk here. Welcome into the inner circle.
Yay!
Also, do
You two aren't cops, aren't you? Oh my, no.
No, it's pronounced police.
But no.
No, we're not that either.
You aren't a cop, aren't you? That's senior sergeant to you, but no.
do you think they should have made the apple tree grow? Apple seed grow?
Kinda does at the end credits.
I didn't watch the end credits.
Oh, didn't you? Yeah, it grows during the credits.
Ah.
Oh, like
As a
the
little
tree
stem.
and Wally.
Yeah, kind of. Except the tree and Wally actually grows happily. This kind of grows as like a little stem and then stops at a flower.
Well, that's
Yeah.
nice. Good on it. 10 out of 10.
Do you like
It's def-
Wally, Ben?
Yeah, I did. But do you like Windmill?
I do like Windmill.
Stop talking about windmills.
Why did you bring it up then,
Because I
Stefan?
thought he was talking about the Gorillaz song with the windmills. The
No.
windmills.
You mean Sunflower?
No, windmills.
By Post Malone?
Not Post Maloney. That's the Spider-Man
Post
song.
Maloney?
What the...
Here comes the sunflower, darling.
That's it. That's the Post Malone song. Here comes the sun. A do 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 do.
Do.
Are we still talking about Fully Cooley?
I thought it was a really good experience, this film. I'm glad I watched it.
I am
will
glad I
never
watched
watch it again because
I might watch it again.
Really,
think.
I would watch sequences again because I just thought it was
maybe
really
sequences,
fun.
but not the whole film.
Oh, definitely no. It's
Unless
very
if I
long
split
watch.
it into like 4 parts.
In a while, I think I'll look at it again. I just liked the animation enough to, I think, warrant
Yeah,
it.
if I wanted to watch it again, it would be because of the animation. And I would just look at specific parts of the animation. Okay, what do you think of the connection between Black and White towards the end? How like White was connecting to Black, and like having those fits and stuff. Because I thought that was really scary from like a parental point of view, seeing this kid in pain and just thrashing around.
Yeah.
Definitely. That also builds into the policeman's character where he said at the start he's very frigid, nothing really affects him. And he's pretty much emotionless until he meets Shuro, and then he he even cries and prays for his safety at the end. It's a really hurtful scene seeing this poor kid just thrashing around.
Yeah.
Also, did you think Shuro was a girl until you saw his junk?
No, they mentioned he was a boy beforehand, but for
I
the
thought
first
they
2 or 3
misinterpreted.
minutes,
Yeah.
I did think he was a girl. Because it's just a very young androgynous look that he has.
Yeah.
I loved his pick apart kind of aesthetic though, where he has like a toilet paper constantly attached to him. He had like a frog hoodie, like, in contrast to Kuro, who had like steampunk goggles, just a t-shirt and giant beads for some reason. Like they had very nice contrasting aesthetic, and then at the end when Shuro looked more like a normal boy, and Kuro looked like anime protagonist default number 1 with his long hair, big coat. But yeah, it's a very visually stunning and stimulating film. Where, again, there's certain scenes you would want to look back at, but it's a very long film to re-watch again. It's not something you would go, oh, I have a spare 5 years, I'll watch Tekkonkinkreet. That's that movie too.
Stefan,
Yeah.
you might want to stop talking.
Well,
Okay.
good night, everybody.
Final thoughts, Michael.
I just liked the animation. That was the main thing. I was very confused the entire time, but again, I just enjoyed its weight and tactility. I liked like you talk about, like the playing with gravity stuff, especially with like ruffles and clothing, especially when they're jumping through traffic.
It just feels fun.
Yeah, it's energetic and it's fun, and it just reminds you of like running through the park.
Well, it's
as a
fun
kid.
until it's not.
Well, yeah, until it becomes sad and they embrace their own darkness. But everything apart from that is just like a really interesting kind of juvenile view of a very adult world, like very adult concepts, and like a kind of a strict, dark adult's world is seen through kind of the eyes of children. I think that's always an interesting storytelling idea. And it's weird that it's not used more in anime, I don't think.
You should watch Charlie's Ballad.
Oh, you mean Academy Award-winning short film Charlie's Ballad?
No?
It's not.
The one co-produced by Academy Award winner Animalian.
I mean, it was mentored over, but that's about it.
I love how-
We're only allowed to say he mentored
I was gonna
us.
say, I love how they specifically barred you from giving him like a producer credit so it wouldn't show up on his IMDb. One day we'll review your animation.
Yeah, no.
You're going to have to pick that then.
Oh, I'm gonna have to pick it one day.
Don't.
Go watch Charlie's Ballad. Is it on YouTube?
Yep.
Go watch Charlie's Ballad on YouTube by Stefan and Ben.
Although a lot of stuff for Sunny in Philadelphia is going to show up.
Because
Oh, because Charlie sings a ballad. Okay.
It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. That's the name of the show. I've never watched it.
That's also a good show. Everyone should watch that.
Okay, Stefan, final thoughts on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Okay.
I like Danny DeVito, I guess.
Okay, now your final thoughts on Tekkonkinkreet.
I like Danny DeVito, I guess. Your final thoughts,
Ben, what are your
man?
final thoughts on Danny DeVito?
Well, I really liked his windmill.
Oh my goodness.
No, it's a really good film. It's definitely something...
What? Danny DeVito's a good film?
Yes, and also Tekkonkinkreet.
Oh yeah, that too.
And I think it's definitely something you should experience if you're, like... If you have watched... Because it's very stylistically different from other anime. So if you want something different, this is definitely
Don't
something...
judge it by just its still images.
Yes.
Watch it in motion, because this film doesn't sell itself on just the still image. You really need to see it moving and living.
Okay, that is the end of the podcast. So next week, what are we doing, Michael?
Well, we were thinking we might do like internet flash animations and we'd all pick a couple during the week and we just talk about them and talk about how kind of Flash as a program revolutionized independent animation. Oh, that might be an interesting topic for an episode.
Okay.
I think that might be fun.
Yeah, that would be.
Because Flash,
I don't
well,
think
specifically
I know
Flash,
any,
but
though.
just the way it revolutionized not only internet animation, but comedy, I think is really interesting and not talked about
Guess
enough.
I'm talking about the adventures of Doc and Marty.
You kind of can. To an extent, it's kind of responsible for what we know as like internet anti-humor.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's a really interesting
As
kind of
stuff
cultural...
movies.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
The whole thing, I
That
think,
sort
is an
of
interesting
stuff.
cultural discussion.
Yeah.
And, you know, the more we talk about it, that's what we're doing next week.
Look, it's better than this discussion, which is talk about windmills most of the time.
Yep, next week we're talking about the Gorilla music video that has a windmill in it.
It's called Windmill something. What's that song?
I don't know.
Windmills in the east, windmills in the west. What? No, I'm looking it up.
Stefan has to look this up before we close the podcast.
Okay, so I'm going to try to end the podcast points. If you want to try to reach us and contact us, talk about how good we are or bad we are, or suggest something, we are animate3pod@gmail.com. You might have to slow that down at 0.25 speed. Sorry about that. We are also on Facebook,
People don't want to
Twitter,
listen.
and YouTube.
It's called Feel Good Ink. It's the main song.
How did you not know?
Windmill, windmill for the land, turn forever hand in hand.
Ben, wrap up the podcast. Wrap up now. Close it.
I already did. Goodbye.